Okay, so something a bit different today. I should actually make sure I have the background music on so that we actually have, not just silence whenever we're not speaking.
Yeah, today we decided to do a tier list because why not?
Pretty much.
We just want to see where this will go and if we should continue with this.
And as you can see, I have gathered a lot of different versions of Megatron.
Which there have been many, and there will be many variants of Megatron that are part of the same universe.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. So, this would be our first one that we have to go with. This would be the animated version of Megatron. From the show Animated. Clearly.
Well, in quotation marks, animated.
No, that's actually what the show's called, Transformers Animated.
Yeah, that's why I said in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Like, technically, every Transformers series is animated.
Yeah. Yeah, I will note, I already mentioned this to you, but for people watching, I mainly used photos of the toys so we could have both the robot and vehicle on hand really easily. Or robot and alt mode on hand really easily. So if there's some things that are off because it's the toy, that's why.
Yeah.
I will say, this does look like a pretty cool replacement for that they could not get away with him being a gun.
Yeah, having Megatron become like some sort of, I don't know the name of those planes, but there have been planes that have like propellers that look like they can like that go up.
I think he is just supposed to be a kind of semi-futuristic helicopter, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Ospreys.
Okay, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It also, for some reason, probably the semi-futuristic part of it is reminding me of like some of the flying Terminators, though with propeller blades instead of just thrust.
Like the ones from Salvation.
Kind of.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Like has a similar architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not cleanly made where it's like elegant. It's more like mashed up together to like intimidate people.
Yeah. He does have a lot of the classic Megatron look, though with some additional red as well in robot mode.
Yeah, he definitely shares a lot of features with the original Megatron, but there are like other aspects that make this one unique from all the others.
Yeah, like his shoulders. Shoulders are definitely one of those defining elements of it, as well as whatever you want to call these on the side of his head.
Yeah, I don't know what those holes are used for, but I do know that they are there, and they are a thing.
Yeah. So, where would we put him?
I mean,
as a
since
tier.
it's like the first one we're starting off with, I don't think we should like put it too high yet. I would say maybe meet in the middle on like B tier. Like it's good. It's a good design, but like it is outclassed by other Megatrons on this list.
Yeah. It's and we want to be clear. This by no means it's bad. Actually, I should probably. I don't think I have a setting for below. I don't think I have a setting for F.
I think you can make another. Yeah, I think you can. Oh, what just happened?
That was just opening up that. Where is... Okay, now I did just mess it all up. Dang it.
I think you messed up my Discord. Okay, now I can see it.
Yeah, I think I just ended up messing the whole thing up. Dang it. At least I...
Okay. Are you recording now?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be working. Now, after I accidentally caused an issue, we're gonna try this again. I'll probably just cut the two together so that we can keep what we did have before it got messed up.
Yeah, because I was not looking forward to having to repeat what I already just said about the figure. I'm not going to be able to, like, memorize it because I don't listen to myself when I talk.
Yep.
But anyways, continuing on.
Yeah. Basically, all that happened in between was... Hang on. All that happened in between was we ended up actually getting an F tier put in there.
Trial and error we managed.
Yep. Okay. I need to... I want that. So we can go over to... Apparently, at least on there... Looks like it loaded differently in the, on the site, but this would be the next one that's apparently in the folder. This would be Shattered Glass Beast Wars Megatron.
Okay. It's like similar color schemes of Optimus Primal.
I think that's the point. I think that is indeed the intention. It is basically just his first form, but with Primal's colors.
It is a very interesting concept, even if it was never made into a toy.
Yeah. Honestly, I would be curious to see how well, like, a small 2 to 4 figure multi-pack of some of the Kingdom figures in the Shattered Glass colors would sell as like a small mini Beast Wars Shattered Glass set.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Honestly, you get curious on what the story would be in contrast to the main story.
I would be too, considering we have a lot of information on more or less how Shattered Glass roughly works for the standard Generation 1, but not really anything about Beast Wars or even really beyond. Yeah. So where would we put Beast Wars Shattered Glass Megatron?
That's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very cool design, and we don't know much of it, so maybe put it like in B tier with animated Megatron.
Okay.
Seems like a better placement. Like it's a very cool character, and frankly, let's just play it safe.
Fair enough. Let's see. Next up should be this. Do you know what this is? From the sounds of it, you do.
The original Beast Wars Megatron figure.
Yep.
Before they came up with the T-Rex. Yeah.
Yeah. I still would like them to make this and Bat Primal.
Yeah, and I think they even when Beast Wars was first released, they had like a little promo episode with Bat, Optimus Primal, and Crocodile Megatron.
I think I also recall in the early stages of the line, they were the same Optimus and Megatron.
It would be interesting to see a storyline on how they went from their original forms to the new forms we're familiar with now.
It would be interesting to see that for the Beast Wars ones. A different idea though that could be equally interesting is what if they kept the Bat Primal and the Crocodile Megatron, the originals, and had them interact with the younger cast.
Interesting, yeah. Honestly, I would pay good money just to see their interactions.
Yeah. So where should we put Crocodile Megatron?
I don't want to be mean to the originals, but I'm kind of leaning towards C tier, because it's an interesting character, but he's not that interesting. What do you think, though? Where would you put him?
I might end up. You know what? I'm gonna say maybe here, just because I do kind of like the idea of just a full-blown Crocodile Megatron that would, and thinking of just how much it would actually kind of fit him, because crocodiles will do their death roll.
Oh, yeah.
So
imagine seeing that in the show, too.
Yeah. Just imagine Megatron death rolling someone. So I will give him a bit more of that, because that would be actually kind of cool. That would be kind of cool to see. It would definitely show him following his primal instincts a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So then, next up, we have Beast Wars Megatron's first transmetal form.
Honestly, this was my favorite design in the whole show, but a purple metallic dinosaur with a flight suit and rollerblades is honestly a very cool and, for obvious reasons, funny concept.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised they jumped straight from his original form to his Transmetal 2 form and didn't even attempt to do this one for the newer figures yet.
Yeah. Mostly curious on what direction they would go with this design.
I don't know if they do the roller skates.
Oh, come on, that's like a key part of their character. Why wouldn't they?
Because I think Transmetal 2 Megatron also had roller skates as part of his original figure, and I don't think they brought that over. I think because they didn't get used in the show.
Oh.
But that would mean he does have his flight abilities still.
Yep, that's a given.
Yeah. You can't really get rid of that one on him.
Yeah, it's one thing to remove one feature, but to remove both features...
Especially when he uses one of those features.
Exactly, yeah.
So I would not be surprised if he at least keeps his flight ability. Even if he might lose his skates. I guess he won't be going to the skate park anytime soon.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, where does he go?
Kind of leaning, between S or A tier, but just because I love his design and his role in the show. What do you think?
Sure. Sure, we can put him there.
S tier. Very good choice, too.
Alright. Next up, we have G.I. Joe crossover figure.
1 second, I need to bring my dog outside. Alright, I'm back.
Yeah, so the next one would be the G.I. Joe crossover figure.
Definitely has, a good design in it. Reminds me of his tank mode from Earthrise, the Netflix show, at least.
I can kind of see it. I know that a lot of people have issues with kind of the backs of his legs being hollow, and that this whole front section of the tank doesn't transform much. But I think they aren't realizing, by virtue of needing it to fit within the original his tank's same volume, as well as make it so that it keeps all its play features, it's going to end up having more compromises.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Because, I wouldn't know what to do with that, front
Yeah,
piece,
I mean...
other than to have it not like a big backpack.
Yeah, I mean, technically you could try and do something like splitting it down the middle or something, but then that adds a whole extra seam.
Yeah. And frankly, it would probably be horrendous to put together like a glass piece if it's like split down the middle as well.
Yep. Yeah, I will say his shoulders do look a little silly.
I don't know, I kind of feel like they make him look intimidating. And it kind of fits with his character, with him being bulky.
Oh, yeah. It is a neat, though a little unlike Megatron to have Megatron working with a human and them having the gun right behind him. Which, in theory, I think that goes 180? Or not 180, 360? Or whatever. Both get the same thing across so that it can look behind itself. But yeah. Where should he go? If I can figure out where he is down here. Because it's not in order for some reason. There he is.
Right there, but yep.
Yep.
Honestly, I think I would put him in C tier.
Okay.
Like, it's a good crossover, but the execution was a bit rough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's definitely... That's much fairer than I've seen some people end up giving it.
No, we're putting it in F tier.
Yeah, there are a number of people who despised this figure when they got it, because of just compromises that it had to make it end up working. Just because they were like, no, they should have done it this way. It would have been better. Next up, we have this unreleased Megatron, of which
toy line he part of.
He was going to be released as part of the Generation 2 toy line. So,
Like
the 90s.
Okay.
Which explains a little bit more of what's going on here.
Yeah, like, what is up with that black hose that's, like, connected to him in his tank mode?
I think that's because the toy might have had a water squirting mechanic. Or play feature.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember that when that was a thing for like a lot of Transformers figures. You don't see that a lot with like newer figures these days.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things. If I definitely get it with like the mainline half collectors, half kids stuff, that they don't focus as much on gimmicks and such like that. But with the kids lines, for like the actual No Kidding Kids lines figures and shows, they should bring back doing more of that. Because those ones don't need to be the most accurate. And it's a lot better than some of the gimmicks they've thought of recently.
That's for sure.
Do you remember Cyberverse, where some of the figures only transformed about halfway? So that they could have, I think, some sort of attack or some sort of warrior attack mode or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a great design choice. Where should we put him?
I'm gonna be a little harsh here, but I'm gonna put it in C tier.
Okay. Yeah, I would say so too. If you were still completely unobtainium, which is apparently a word the wiki will use to describe characters that were never released, and therefore it's basically impossible to obtain them, I might give him a little bit higher because it's neat. But if you can notice down here, they did eventually make at least an homage to that. Actually, that, and I think they technically made a couple, so it does kind of lose some of that mysticism.
Yeah. Alright, next figure.
Next figure is... that should be... Actually, no, that would be... Did I grab both Energon versions? Yes, I ended up grabbing Energon Galvatron 2 for some reason. I think since I think when I was going through those, I ended up being like, yes, they end up having a bunch of forms in that show. I should grab all of them. And so I had accidentally included a couple of Galvatrons there, so let me go quickly rectify that. We do not... How do I don't know how to delete the,
I think you just right-click and then it should, like, give you an option.
I'm not seeing it. Let's see if I have to bring it up here first. Clear images, no. I'm not seeing it, so we'll just throw them down at... We'll just throw them at the very end and just not put them in. There we go, there's the other one that I had accidentally thrown in there. Alright, let's try this again. Actual next figure, Energon Megatron.
Okay. It's monumentally different from the other figure. But we're not including him in this list.
Yeah. As you can see, I have clearly removed them from this actual part of the, I guess, presentation. It definitely... though it definitely fit the color scheme of the other one much better. It is definitely Galvatron based in terms of robot mode design.
I do think blue is an odd color for Galvatron.
Oh, yeah. Well, Galvatron was that purple one. This is the Megatron. But it is still... Yeah, it looks a lot more like Galvatron than Megatron physically. For robot...
The chest piece and the horns on his head.
Yeah.
Like, that's making me think it's Galvatron. No. Not Megatron.
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, you know what? It actually reminds me a lot of Tigertron with his color scheme.
That's a funny comparison. You have Mr. Honorable Warrior.
Look at the
I can kind of see it, but it is really funny. You have Honorable Warrior Tigertron, and then you have Energon Megatron that I don't recall being particularly honorable at all.
I mean, to be fair, is any Megatron honorable?
I think sometimes, but admittedly not often. Yeah.
Okay, so where do we want to place this figure?
Where do you want to place him? The hard thing with that for me is also... I'm trying to avoid just also thinking flatly of the show, because the show was kind of boring to me. But, let's just go middle. It's not terrible looking, but it also isn't particularly impressive.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Alright, next figure.
Next figure. The original toy.
Alright.
Also, I was about to say, maybe red would have worked better here, because, like with the animated one likely took red from this original figure. That's likely why he had more red in the animated form. They took it from his original figure's release. But yeah. This figure.
This thing is like a Cybertronian skeleton. Like if Transformers have skeletons, that's what it would look like.
It kinda does look like a skeleton. Though, given it is his first figure, that kind of also makes sense. They didn't quite have all the, they didn't quite have everything figured out like they do for the most part now.
Still not gonna change my opinion on this figure, though.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, yeah, it's the first figure, but I'm not gonna be overly generous about it.
Yeah, I might be a little bit more generous with it, just because I have my dad's copy of it.
Yeah.
And so it is really fun to end up being like, yes, I have a Megatron in his original form.
So I'm gonna say for that Megatron, let's put it in D tier.
A little above. I'm gonna say a little above, just because it is really fun to play with. At least in alt mode.
Okay, fine. I'm not gonna argue with you. Only because if we were to argue, we would be here for 10 hours.
Getting to every single detail. Here we have the primary Generation 2 Megatron that everyone knows.
What is up with his face? Is he smiling there? Oh no, he's like doing like a serious face, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
It looked like he was smiling from a distance.
Yeah, it looks like they had an idea and just were not sure how they wanted to accomplish it.
Actually, zoom back in on his face. His mouth actually looks like a Krabby Patty from SpongeBob. but it's upside down.
Yeah, most of the Generation 2 Megatrons I threw in here were mainly because how the front of the tank works is much different than the most updated versions we have. So I wanted to make sure you could also have them based on that to be discussed.
Also, is this technically the first time we've ever seen Megatron as a tank?
I think so, yeah.
Because like, I know in like the Bayverse movies, in the second one at least, he turns into a Cybertronian tank.
Yep.
I think there was like others before that where he also turned into a tank.
Mm-hmm. This was the 90s, so it was Generation 2, so it was immediately off of it was the thing that immediately followed Generation 1.
Ultimately, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I will say his legs are a bit goofy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has small feet and like wide calves.
Yeah. Honestly,
never skip leg.
no, you did not. I feel like a lot more people, if they did this as the primary Megatron that they ended up producing, would have a lot fewer issues with that. They refuse for understandable reasons to make him a gun. But since they always try and force it to be the Generation 1 version first, people don't necessarily like it.
I mean, I do kind of like the direction they were going with G2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
making Megatron into a tank really shows his superiority as a leader.
true, but it also gives him fewer downsides.
Well, yeah, one, he's slower, and
Well, one, he's slower. Two, what stops him from using full force whenever anymore?
that's true.
That's one of the things I do really like about his original gun mode. Technically, if he's his ultimate weapon, then he has to put trust into someone else to be able to use it. When he's a tank, he can just... what's gonna stop him? He doesn't need any assistance aiming anything.
True.
But I do feel like if they ended up basing the tank Megatrons a lot more off of a more proportional version of this stylization of how he would transform, a lot more people would probably be happy.
Yeah.
Especially if this version came out first and it was Generation 1 that was the that was always the repaint. Just because some people would never be happy with a Megatron as a Generation 1 Megatron as a tank. I don't hate it, but it would definitely be something of... in my case, I do want a gun Megatron for collection.
I understand.
But then again, I don't hate the idea of him being a tank as much as there are some people that just flatly despise it. But it makes sense. It's what it is.
Yeah. So where are we gonna place him?
Where are we gonna place him?
Personally, I'm kind of leaning towards B tier.
Alright.
Like again, no, but the others, it's a good design, but it's like outclassed by others.
Yeah.
Especially its newer models.
Yeah. Let's see.
Next figure.
The last of the original Generation 2 figures. It's the same mold as that unreleased Arctic Camo version. It's also the only color.
Yeah, preferred this one over the Arctic Camo, in all honesty.
Yeah. I'm actually slightly surprised we haven't gotten a version of this since we have both the original colors and the Arctic Camo versions as updated figures, but not this one of their modern scale.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in that as well.
Especially with how much they love reusing that Siege / Earthrise Megatron mold.
Exactly.
They love reusing that, and they apparently just never did this version for some reason. But I do agree it probably works better than the Arctic Camo because it's similar to the green one, is the bright neon of like the other Generation 2 guys. It looks it pops out a lot more and it doesn't feel as much just kind of, well, that's neat.
Yeah.
So, where does he go?
Let's put him in B tier. He's slightly better than his Arctic counterpart.
Alright. Let's see. Next. So, this should... I'm almost certain this is exactly what the Studio Series figure of Megatron for Transformers 1 is based on, but I think this is technically just cogged. This is basically just D16 with a cog rather than proper Megatron yet.
Right, because he doesn't technically become Megatron until he puts Megatronus' cog within himself.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, there are some changes, but judging by the shape of the cannon, this seems to be what they based the Studio Series figure on, mainly.
It definitely pays homage to like the Generation 1 Megatron.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously with like added details across like his shoulders, his waist, even the inside of his legs as well.
Yeah. His legs do feel a little long.
I mean, I feel like that's like part of his character, though. Like, he has like an extremely short body, but like very strong legs.
And one of the things I personally, as much as one was a good film, one of the things I don't like as much is just how much is hidden away in the robot modes. It is often very hard to see what they transform into.
Yeah. kind of feel like it's on purpose to like leave the audience surprised. You know.
That makes sense for them without cogs into them with cogs.
Okay, yeah, you have a good point there. With cogs, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, with cogs, at that point, they kind of should have at least something showing. Because at that point...
Yeah, now that you mention it, he looks more like an action figure than like a transformer.
Yeah.
Like just a non-transforming action figure.
Yeah, that's kind of the main reason I haven't been super worried about collecting anyone from any of the Transformers 1 figures. Just because they're going to be a bit off from the design just due to how the designs were. Yeah. His other two forms are in here.
I figured as much.
Yeah. But where should we put middle stage Transformers 1 Megatron?
I'd say put him in A tier.
Alright. Our first A tier. We had a bunch of B, C's, and an S, but that's the first A tier.
Yep.
Hang on, did I switch over? I did not switch over to that, so...
Okay,
there we are.
There we go.
Yeah. I had to go over and click an extra button before going back. Anyway.
Anyways. Next on the list.
Speaking of...
now we have Cogless D16.
Yep. And this is where, like I said, it makes a lot more sense of not showing much of anything. Since at this point of time he couldn't turn into anything.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice with Cogless D16 because it shows that he's like, I don't want to say like an adolescent, I guess you could say, yeah, like before he becomes mature, you know?
Yeah. I do like how he has some red in him, actually. He seems to have more red in his... I think there is some red there, but it's more noticeable on him before he got a cog. And the black helmet is actually referencing, like, old animated commercials and the Marvel Comics design.
Interesting. I always wondered why he had a black helmet.
Well, that's why.
Yep.
Because originally Megatron was going to have a black helmet, and it just became the same color as the rest of his head. Yeah. One thing that is kind of weird is that the chamber for the cog is just perpetually open.
Yeah, that was always kind of off-putting for me in the movie.
Yeah, it'd
like,
be like...
Why do we need to be like a giant hole in your chest?
Especially when they apparently never put two and two together. It is kind of, when you do think about it, it should kind of be more unsettling than it is, because it'd be like a human walking around with a big gaping hole where their lung or something is supposed to be.
Exactly.
Especially with them being in the mines, you'd think something would get in there.
I'm surprised nothing has got in there.
Yeah. So where should we put him?
I would say, yeah, put him in B tier.
Okay.
He's not better than, like, when he gets his cog, but he's still decent.
Yeah.
Even if he can't transform or anything.
Yeah. Let's see, what is next? Megatron from Transformers Prime.
Basically combining Bayverse with G1, if I'm correct.
Pretty much. That was, I think, a number of the characters.
Honestly, I was never a big fan of the design of the Transformers in Prime. They kind of look scrappy, you know?
I kind of get that. Though, admittedly, how many scraps do the Bayverse characters get into?
I mean, yeah, but at least they look more fleshed out than these guys.
Eh. It's probably not helping this image, is just how small that is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with legs like those, his entire body would just cave in on itself.
Yeah.
And I just noticed this, but I like how his head is like poking out of his jet mode.
Yeah. The other,
It's
one of the things I do like is just how his alt mode looks alien and like it could fly, but it isn't. It isn't like one of those over designed to be overly detailed alien spaceships. It has its points of detail, but it still has overall a relatively simple design.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because sometimes when you do make an alien sometimes the alien spaceships, to make them be alien, they will just kind of look like a mishmash of whatever. Vaguely resembling something that can fly, with a bunch of pointy things sticking out everywhere.
Yeah, like those flying saucers from the 60s.
So, where should we put Prime Megatron?
I mean, you already know I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm just gonna leave it up to you.
What I'll say is there's definitely room for improvement, and I definitely have a bit more nostalgia for it than you, but I'm gonna say let's put it, say, in the middle.
That's fair.
Right. This guy. So
This is new to me.
yeah, this is Robots in Disguise 2001's version of Megatron. Seemingly the second Predacon to take the name Megatron.
Okay. So what exactly, like, how many different forms does he have? Like,
It looks like
his robot mode.
6. Looks a little like 6. Looks like some sort of jet, some sort of dragon thing, some sort of bat, some sort of car, and a hand.
A hand?
Yep. It looks almost... I don't know. I think it might be intended to be like...
Wait, no, hold on. So, what... He just, is one of his modes, is a hand.
Apparently. I think.
What purpose, why is that even a thing? It's like, instead of transforming into a vehicle or an animal, it's like, oh, let's transform into a body part. Should we go for a foot, a torso? No, let's go for a hand. It's probably more mobile than the others.
I think it floats as well.
A floating hand. On top of that, it's a floating hand. Apparently, he wants to be the boss in Smash Bros.
Master Hand or Crazy Hand.
Exactly, yeah. Like,
okay, so he has 6 modes. Because I pulled it up to double check. It is a robot, a bat named Gigabat, or at least in the original Japanese version of the show, he was called Gigatron. The bat was called Gigabat. The two-headed dragon was named Giga Dragon. The jet, Gigajet. A strange-looking car called Giga Formula, and a hand called Giga Hand. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it other than that it's I think it was a big floating giant hand that was in alt mode for some reason.
Like, what's his primary weapon as the hand? Flipping the bird?
I don't know. I still haven't gotten around to watching Robots in Disguise 2001. That would be kind of funny, though.
Hey, Optimus, check this out. And he's just, he transforms into the hand and just flips him up the bird.
Looking at how it's put together, I think you can flip down all the other fingers, so you technically could do it even if you didn't do it in the show.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't think that's reason enough for me to want to grab if they ever make a new version of him, but it is a really funny concept. Though I will have to point out, didn't Beast Machine's Megatron decide to turn himself into a giant floating head?
At least a floating head makes more sense. A floating hand? No.
Now the question is...
A floating head is more intimidating than a hand.
So I guess, where should the floating hand man go?
Leaning towards D tier, right? Because it's such a terrible concept to transform into a hand.
I almost want to give him a little bit more, just due to that. He does have 5 other functional modes, but definitely not particularly high, because a hand is still really silly.
Imagine if that was like his only form. What do you transform into? Oh, I transform into a hand. Oh, a handgun? Nah, no, just a hand.
It would be really... There are 2 ways for that to actually be kind of cool. Option 1, he literally turns... As in hand mode, he literally can do finger guns, and they actually shoot. That would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool if really silly. Option 2, he's part of a bigger combiner made up of characters that just form the combiner parts.
They actually went with that direction. I would actually put it higher than C tier.
Yeah.
Or D tier for that matter.
Even if it was just that he could actually do finger guns, I would be willing to put it a little higher just because of how good the comedy of that is.
Alright, moving on.
Moving on from Mr. Hand. This is just all we're gonna think of now with the Robots in Disguise 2001 Megatron, that he turns into a hand. Just forget all the other alt modes, he is a hand now. Okay. We have the Arctic camo, but in the Siege mold.
I actually like this design, and I think like the Arctic camo is like, this figure, it's definitely in an upgrade from the other one.
Yeah, I think it helps that they ended up. I think it helps that they had more time to actually seemingly plan out how they wanted to do it, and might have made the camo a bit thicker on a bit more clearly not just white background.
Exactly.
Let's see, where should we put him? Probably at least above the original version of the Arctic camo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably there. Probably there then. Let's see. The original Shattered Glass Megatron. The original version of Shattered Glass Megatron clearly used the Energon mold. Yeah, I didn't notice before, but it has a different head than the Energon Megatron. It has more of a standard Megatron head. It also seems to be going for the original design. It also seems to be having a nod of the original black helmet. But I would definitely say it. And I think I just noticed why it kind of looks a little busy to me. This whole tank arm cannon thing feels really bulky and kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, Megatron has been known for wielding bulky weaponry on one arm or another, but that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. As much as I do like Shattered Glass, and this is just a side effect of being the Energon mold, that is something that is a little off-putting. I do think the colors work a bit better than the Energon version, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably because it keeps mainly to black, red, and gray, even if it's laid out differently. with blue only being like absolutely accent colors. Which makes it less distractingly. Oh, Megatron is half blue now. Yeah. So where are we putting the original version of Shattered Glass Megatron?
Feeling a bit generous. I think I want to put him in A tier, but it's very interesting design, and I think it does play a lot of homages to original figures.
Alright. Let's see. Next up. Ah, my favorite of the live action designs. Dark of the Moon.
My second favorite of the Bayverse Megatrons.
Yeah. Yeah.
His shotgun is very iconic, by the way.
Yes. It's also something that, if you think about it, it is actually something where he learned from a past mistake, despite the Bay films being known for not having the best writing. He learned from a past mistake with this. He had his big giant fusion cannon arm, and that was unwieldy. So now he has a fusion shotgun instead that he can use both hands to hold. Or hold on its own, but that if he needs to move and get out of the way, he doesn't have this big heavy arm on one side of him. It's actually kind of a neat detail that I don't know if as many people noticed or realized was probably intentional. But I do really like that he ends up basically becoming the opposite of Prime. Being effectively his opposite as a semi-truck, aside from it probably it being the first one of the Transformer films I ever watched.
Okay, I was a bit confused when you said like the opposite of Prime, and I'm like,
yeah, it's like a semi-truck. he literally takes the mirror image of Prime effectively.
Pretty much. And I do find it interesting how he was able to like add spikes to his grill.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. It also ends up they kind of show that as well with Optimus turning the Age of Extinction truck into his iconic blue with red flames.
Yeah.
So it definitely shows that there's some level of modification they could do. Same with the Wreckers. Their vehicle modes.
Yeah.
But that actually is one of those things that I feel like could be fun to touch on a bit more. Rather than...
It would definitely be interesting to see like the events after Revenge of the Fallen be turned into a comic book, but like told in like Megatron's side.
Yeah, I think we get a little of that in the Dark of the Moon game.
Okay.
In the campaign.
I never finished that game.
Yeah, I think he ends up... I think it does show him going from the Revenge of the Fallen alt mode to the Dark of the Moon one. though I think without the trailer. But it is one of those things of where since it wasn't in the film itself, it's technically secondary canon. So, unless there's something that contradicts it directly in a film, it makes sense to go with. Where should we put him?
I think we should put him in A tier with the other two.
Alright. Let's see. Who is next? The kind of hybrid between the two cogged forms of Megatron in the film. You can kind of see what I mean by the robot mode definitely feels a bit more like his when he actually does become Megatron, especially the head. But this fusion canon is clearly the middle stage's canon.
Yeah.
It is impressive just how much they ended up managing to get him cleaned up. In all honesty.
Yeah, I think that was a very nice touch right there.
Yeah. But you can see right here why his legs are just so long.
Yeah.
I guess instead of complaints about yet another H tank, basically a tank that's shaped like an H from above, they ended up making a I don't know what you'd want to call this, a C tank, an N or whatever, where you have the two big treads in the front and everything else kind of lines up in the back.
Maybe like an M tank.
Maybe. Due to that little tiny jutting out part.
Exactly.
An M or W tank.
Depends on your perspective.
Yeah. I feel like they did a good job, but it is seemingly merging in between the two designs a little bit. Kind of muddying which version they want it to specifically be.
Yeah.
So where should he go?
I would say he... I think I'm between A or B tier.
I'm gonna say B.
Yeah, that's a fair placement. He's definitely an interesting figure, but he doesn't really surpass the design of like the middle D16 when he got his cog.
Yeah. We have the Kingdom mold in the more accurate to the original show repaint. Which I grabbed just because, admittedly, how much just the flat Kingdom version ends up having a different, just kind of has a different look to it than this color scheme does.
Yeah.
This,
I think like Kingdom had like a brighter purple.
I think it might have been a little brighter. It's in here, just because it also still doesn't look like the actual Kingdom version from the show. Because it still looks like Beast Wars Megatron as Beast Wars Megatron should look. It just looks less like the exact cartoon.
Yeah, like, I do like the design of, like, Kingdom Megatron. But the only thing that, like, I don't like about him is his voice actor.
Yeah, so we have the Kingdom mold in a much more accurate to the original show's color. Just because I felt that would be more fitting to represent him from the original show.
Understandable.
Yeah. Now, I would want to say probably here. He was a fun villain, and he didn't seem to be... He seemed to actually be a credible threat and not just this silly goofball despite having his silly moments.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, next figure.
Next figure, Cyberverse. I think the best they had was a deluxe figure that may or may not be a bit under. That may or may not have had less budget than the ones we usually discuss of deluxes. Due to being, the children's show toy line.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely
Megatron.
Design. It pays, like, homage to, like, G1 Megatron in, like, a lot of areas. But also
just
having, like, human features.
Yeah. It's a perfectly acceptable Megatron. It just doesn't really have anything that sticks out. Really.
Yeah. Honestly, it's only like minor changes to this guy.
Yeah.
Nothing to like write home about.
Yeah.
It's like if you show this to me, it's like okay, it's Megatron.
Yeah. Yeah. So where should we put him?
I would say like B tier.
All right.
Like he's a decent character and design.
Yeah.
But nothing too special.
All right. Let's see. Following that, we have I think it was the Earth Spark show.
And what does he even turn into?
I think it is supposed to be kind of like some form of futuristic either drone or other type of flying vehicle. I think he is supposed to be a semi-futuristic vehicle. I can ask the internet of the wiki what it is specifically.
I have to say I'm not a big fan of the head mold.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone just makes him look like a generic Decepticon foot soldier or something. Like almost like one of the Seekers.
So he's apparently supposed to be a stylized tilt-rotor aircraft.
Sorry, what?
Tilt-rotor aircraft.
A tilt rotor, what is that?
So it basically would be it would be kind of the same thing as an Osprey.
Oh,
That same type of thing of where the propellers can change direction. I don't know if they can on this figure exactly, but apparently that is the intent.
I mean, they can look like they do, but I'm also afraid if you were to attempt to do it, it would just snap off like a twig.
Yeah. Yeah, I do know that in the show, the show takes place after the main war. So, Megatron ends up actually being allied with Optimus from what I understand, the entire show for the most part, as one of the good guys. So he definitely has an interesting element to him. But I feel like aside from his head, it is definitely a design that I feel could work. Maybe if they end up wanting to bring a Megatron to Earth in like a sequel to Rise of the Beasts, they should make him be an Osprey and kind of take some design cues from this, because that could probably work pretty well, actually. So let's see, where should we put him?
Put him in C tier.
C tier, alright. C tier. Next up, the Eartherized mold version of Generation 2 Megatron, which is basically, it effectively is the same mold as the Siege one, just with a bit of Earth detailing added.
Yeah, just a recolor of Earthrise.
Yeah.
I think we should just put him in B tier.
Alright.
Like, too much to talk about, and it's just Earthrise with like G2 colors.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can kind of see what I mean by it would almost be nicer if, instead of insisting on Generation 1 being the primary mold, if they did it as the Generation 2 one. Especially if he's gonna be a tank constantly. That way at least you end up, that way at least you're not trying to force a tank with Generation 1 proportions.
Yeah.
Armada Megatron.
He has like horns like shrapnel, I will say that.
Yeah.
Like large beetle horns.
Mm-hmm. If I recall, in the show, he might even be able to extend those. He can sling that, I think, underneath his arm. Switch it like that, and I know that he can combine with Tidal Wave. I don't have an image of that.
His vehicle mode is reminding me of those tanks from Halo.
Yeah, I think his vehicle mode is a typical H tank, or a good example of an H tank. I feel like at times he ends up. I feel like the design is a little silly. A little silly for me to take seriously as Megatron.
Yeah, like for starters, his like shoulders have like those tank treads that are like serve no purpose other than to like weigh him down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are characters that do have that. Like Generation 2 Optimus has the front of the truck do that too, but especially if you're not going to fill out the center of the tank, why not end up condensing the tank in some way?
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I had forgotten this, but hey, look.
Oh, right. I didn't even notice that.
I think people ended up noting whether it was intentional or not. Technically, you could read the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron, his face being visible in tank mode, as reference to this.
Actually, then Armada came out before Revenge of the Fallen.
Yep. That's why I'm noting that whether it was intentional or not on behalf of the designers of Revenge of the Fallen, they might have. They technically.
You were like saying.
Yeah, other way around. Yeah. Let's see. Where should we put him?
To me, this feels like a B tier. Like, it's a very interesting design, but like you said, it is silly in some parts.
Yeah. I might do that. Just because of how many are already in B tier. Let's see. Oh, and I realized I forgot to show the screen I had pulled him down to see with how full B is already. Next. Transmetal 2. Beast Wars Megatron.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first watched Beast Wars years ago, I honestly forgot that he did transform into this in the third season.
Yeah. I feel like the strangest choices have the tail come out of the back of his head.
Yeah, and I often forget that was like a design choice. Like, it's so odd.
Yeah, I wonder because I think it might be a matter of. Oh, and I'm seeing the image of the Halo tank you sent. Yeah, that does resemble Armada Megatron. But I do wonder if perhaps it was intended to. I wonder if perhaps it was intended to reference, based on my very limited knowledge of traditional China, since I think his dragon is mode is kind of based off a Chinese dragon, if it's supposed to resemble the braided hair that men would wear.
Yeah.
I wonder if that might be why. Because that would make sense. I just don't know if that was the actual intent behind it. Yeah.
I mean, overall, I'm not a big fan of this dragon form, because like in Beast Wars in general was about like primitive creatures or even modern day creatures, and sometimes it dabbled in like making them more metallic or combining two different species. Like this is like almost like part of a new series of its own.
Yeah, aside from aside from that, I think Tigerhawk and Silverbolt technically end up almost being Griffin-like due to the nature of their animal combinations. This was probably the most mythological creature that they ever went.
Yeah. And that's why it just seems like a bit off-putting.
Yeah. So where should we put him?
I mean, D tier is kind of empty, but I think it's like too much. So like C tier, I guess.
All right. Let's see.
Right. Next figure.
Ah, yes. For good old proper Generation 1 Megatron, I pulled an image of the masterpiece that Takara did. It is the classic.
I remember Jobby the Hong reviewing this figure, and he said it was great. And I have to agree with him.
Yeah.
Like, especially with all the accessories he comes with. Some of it is like from the movie.
Yeah, some of it's like, from a couple of, at least one or two is from random episodes too. Yeah. But I'm going to have to say yes.
Yeah, I figured as much.
There's not really getting around. He was the one that basically was the beginning of all the Megatrons. It's hard to beat that.
There's no question. He's just simply the best.
Yeah. Let's see. There we go. There's final Megatron.
Okay. I was wondering when we were gonna get to him.
Yeah. It definitely looks like the weapons were more heavily his previous form, but his robot mode was more this form.
Yeah.
With the Studio Series. It is a little interesting to make the fusion cannon be a triple barrel cannon.
Yeah, that's something that I was confused from with the movie. Megatron has always been known to have a single barrel cannon, and having it triple, sure it shows his power, but what really shows power? Having it single barrel or triple barrel?
It kind of would depend, but I do think it was an unnecessary thing because they felt the need to end up trying to visualize him being even stronger. When I feel like they could have gotten away with maybe just beefing up his cannon from his previous form to about as thick as all of those combined. That would make it very threatening while still making it clearly stronger than his previous one.
Exactly.
What are we thinking?
I'm gonna say let's put him in A tier. It's still a cool figure and character. The only thing that keeps him from going into S tier is probably the cannon.
Right. Next. Ah, yes. I think this was the Siege. I think this is the Netflix Siege premium edition figure. It effectively is the Netflix show Megatron for all intents and purposes. Especially since they never went to modern day Earth, so the Earthrise version of it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do like how they were able to make him look dirty without making him dirty, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and
like
he had one of the good voice actors of that show.
Yeah, like a deep, threatening, metallic voice. That was a good decision.
He definitely ended up being one of those characters where you could definitely see what came before, but he did make it his own in a way where it didn't feel, where it just felt still like Megatron.
Exactly.
Yeah. It does kind of run into the problems of, you know, trying to force a Generation 1 Megatron with the exact body of Generation 1 Megatron, but with a tank.
That is very true.
But technically it being the Netflix show version, and this is kind of the distinction between me and some of the people who just will not accept a tank Megatron ever. I don't mind it as much being the Netflix Megatron. The Netflix trilogy Megatron. As a version of, say, for my Generation 1 collection, it would not fit for me, though. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Where should we put him?
Let's put him in A tier with the others. Like, yeah, he's a very interesting character and figure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Then we have the new Shattered Glass figure that they had done, where they had.
Honestly, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, they took the Siege version of the Megatron mold and found a way to make this with only a couple of add-on pieces.
That, yeah.
Like, it's literally just those two wings in this little cockpit shield area, but it looks so much different.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were able to, transform him into a tank.
You can.
Close to... Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can. They changed no parts of his... They changed none of his core parts. They literally just ended up transforming him a different way and adding those 3 parts.
Oh, okay.
Mainly just his feet, I think, are transformed differently. I think everything else is exactly the same as it was for the Siege mold. Minus, again, attach the wings, attach the cockpit. But it is really neat. It definitely makes it a lot more Generation 1 looking than the original Shattered Glass figure. But that they were able to, without changing the initial figure at all, to do this is really cool. This is probably one of the better random reuses of the mold as Megatron.
I agree.
Because this one they actually put some effort to make it unique instead of just silver gray Megatron for the 50th time. And the best part is this works as an alien jet still.
Yeah, surprisingly it still works as an alien jet.
Yeah. Sure, I'm pretty sure if you look at it from above, there's that little gap in the center, but for that, this is... Yeah, that can be overlooked for that. They got this far without changing really any tooling of the figure. That's impressive.
Very impressive indeed.
Where should we put him?
I'm thinking of S tier. Like, he's really a great figure. It was much better than the original Shattered Glass.
Yeah, and we already had the Shattered Glass here.
Yeah, so it would be nonsensical to put him also in A tier.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, it looks like for S tier, at least at the moment, we might find more stuff, but we have Transmetal 2 Beast Wars, Generation 1, and Shattered Glass. That's kind of fun.
I mean, S tier is usually reserved for, like, the very few good ones.
Yep.
And it has to be really good. Like, you can't just be like this guy, for example.
Mm-hmm. Here we have... I specifically grabbed the battle-damaged version of him, because there were two versions of the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron they did for Studio Series. Just because this is the much more detailed one. In terms of paint colors.
And I like how you can clearly see his head poking out of the tank.
Yeah. I think this version of the tank even actually has the turret damaged.
Yeah.
But...
which is a nice touch, in all honesty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this is probably one of my favorite Megatrons in the movie saga.
Yeah, it's definitely... I do like it. The big giant arm is a little silly to me.
I mean, I can see why, yeah.
Yeah. But
it kind of like demonstrates his strength as a character, you know?
Mm-hmm. But it also kind of explains how Optimus is able to kind of overwhelm him at times.
Yeah, the only reason he was able to, like, win that fight was because Megatron, like, pretty much backstabbed him.
Mm-hmm. And when you encounter... And part of that is you can see Megatron being off balance, which makes sense. His original form was more symmetrical. And since he was this fighter, he would be thrown a bit off balance by being so asymmetrical.
Yeah.
So where should we put this? Say what you were gonna say, but...
What was I gonna say? Think. I was gonna say that, like something along the lines of, like, his legs being able to support his asymmetrical body, and also on the topic of his legs, I do think it was a very cool design choice of having the tank treads be a part of his
they actually be his feet instead of like how a number of them they'll just be on the leg.
Or like on their shoulders for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, so where should we put Revenge of the Fallen Megatron?
Put him in A
Yeah.
tier with Dark of the Moon.
Yeah, I definitely see that. What's next? The War for Cybertron game version of Megatron. Where he was a hover tank.
I mean, like, are the things on the side of the tank supposed to be like tank treads, or are they like shielding? Like,
I think technically in the game, if you end up boosting, you will actually go onto the ground. So I think they are treads. I don't think the figure can actually make use of them as treads, though, at all. Even in the slightest. I think they are molded to just kind of be in their hover tank formation, and that's it.
I will say, unlike most Megatron figures on this list, he does use a lot of red.
Yeah.
Like, especially for his chest piece.
Yeah. It is kind of nice. He has that kind of popping out. He kind of runs into the problem a lot of the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron game characters run into. He looks like he ends up putting way too much focus on working out. Because some of those designs excessively look like they work out. Because here's his torso, his arms and legs look skinny compared to it.
Yeah, the other Megatrons never skipped leg day. This guy, never skipped arm and bicep day.
Yeah. So where do we think we're going to place him?
I think I'm gonna put him in B tier. Right. He's definitely unique, but he's not too hype,
Yeah. The concept art Megatron for the Bumblebee movie.
Oh, okay.
I think I think they made him so that he had both a Cybertronian tank and jet mode.
His jet mode kind of looks like a laser beak.
It kind of does. Yeah. It does kind of just look like... Yeah, it does kind of just look like it almost looks like a bird. Or a drone. A bird-like drone, at least. And then, admittedly, the tank looks a little forced.
Honestly, it looks more like an LAV than a tank. Like, you know what an LAV is, right?
Light armored vehicle?
Right, it's basically, it has like a can of a tank, but it has like normal tires on it instead of the tank treads. Like, I can pull up an image.
And I do appreciate what they tried to do with this design. I do feel like their tank is kind of pushing it, and the Cybertronian jet looks a lot more like a drone than a jet.
Yeah, exactly.
mind you, the drone form looks... I see. But yeah, the drone form looks more complete than the tank does.
Yeah, that's one point I'll give to the jet mode.
Yeah, it at least looks more cohesive and less like, oh, what if we also made it this?
Yeah.
So where do I think we're gonna place him?
Yes. I think I'm gonna put him in, I mean, we haven't been putting anyone in D tier, but that's because there has been anyone worthy of D tier, so let's put him in C tier.
Alright. Yeah, we've not really had any complete stinkers yet.
Yeah.
We've had some... Yeah, we've had some that are definitely... some that are definitely a lot funnier than others, like Mr. Hand.
Yeah.
but that I think we almost put there, but again, he does technically have 5 properly functional modes, and the hand isn't his primary and only one, at least. At least I don't think it's his primary one.
Not yet, anyway. I will be waiting for the day.
Let's see. Next, we have what was released as the At the Parks Megatron. Basically the one that you end up having the guy in the suit show up and you take pictures with, is what this was supposed to effectively be.
Okay. Because, like, how does... I was gonna say, like, how does Dark of the Moon Megatron go from, like this clean silver paint to, like, being completely rusty in, like, the span of the movie?
Yeah. Yeah, this one probably does not need to be as high, but it is still kind of fun that they did it. And some of the videos of the performer roasting people is great.
Yeah, I just love that guy. Like, it's so funny. Like, I remember going to Universal Studios one time, and like, I was waiting in line for ice cream, and I was like watching him because like the ice cream parlor was like right next to his show, so I was like waiting in line, and then like the guy at like the counter was like, "Hey, you're up next, sir." But and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I was watching his show."
It would be funny, considering I have that, actually, let me go see if I can find a picture of it on hand to chuck in to place after this. But that Generation 2 Decepticon symbol, it would be kind of funny if I ever brought that to to there. Because genuinely, that would be kind of funny, especially if you recognized it.
I would honestly be surprised if he did recognize it.
Yeah. Let's see. While I'm doing this, I guess, any thoughts of where he should probably go?
Let's just put him in A tier with the other one, just because.
Okay.
I honestly feel like it's just a fitting placement anyways.
Yeah.
You need to switch your camera.
Yep, I can definitely do that. I was looking for the thing. Because apparently where I decided to go was not the best choice to find it fast. Fine, Discord. I'll use a different area to check if I had to put it somewhere. But, yeah, there we go. Found it. Oh, so I can see where this is, so I can actually make it go into position afterwards of it. Alright, let's see. If I go to this now, will it let me actually switch right over to it? No, it needs to load, I guess, or something. Oh, there we go. Yeah, this thing. It would definitely be fun to just bring that.
Okay.
Because that is the Decepticon logo. Just, Generation 2. That would be very fun to just be like, ah, yes. Hello there, fellow Decepticon.
It would be more funny if he was like so confused. He would probably be like, "What? I know what Decepticon symbol. What is
that?" Yeah. Our next non-sidetrack thing. The 07 film.
I remember having this figure as a kid. I was never able to like get him into his vehicle mode though.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, especially with just how alien it is, because it does kind of run into that issue of kind of having things jutting out all over the place just to make it look alien.
Yeah, like a lot of pieces like fit together perfectly, but it's like some of those pieces, like the ones up front that were just like so confusing. I was like, what do I do with these? Like, do I just stick them out? Because like I don't think it like came with instructions either, read on like how to transform him.
Mind you, this is the Studio Series figure, but still, the same thing applies because it's based on the same
similar
design.
It's similar.
Yeah. It still follows the same basic principle of you have the Megatron, you have the alt mode. It needs to look somewhat the same unless they want to just market not the correct version of Megatron.
Yeah.
But yeah. Where do we think we're gonna put him?
Like I'm kind of leaning towards S tier, but it's like with the others that like he's great, but he's not up there, you know.
Yeah.
That's probably because how difficult it is to transform him.
I'm gonna say A then. Because
That's a good...
it definitely works. It just does have some flaws.
Some major flaws, if I might add.
Yeah.
Alright, next figure.
Next, The Last Knight.
Now, is he technically Galvatron, or did he rename himself back to Megatron?
He seemingly renamed himself back to Megatron.
Okay, because I was confused during the whole film.
Yeah, it's not explained at all. It's just he is Megatron again now because reasons.
And honestly, when I saw the trailers, I didn't even know that was Megatron.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a new Decepticon.
Yeah. His jet, which is also the Cybertronian jet, I think, looks a lot nicer.
Yeah, it looks slicker, and it definitely looks like it's easier to transform than the other guy.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. It definitely looks like some form of jet and not quite as much of we're gonna stick some stuff around just to make it look like this super sleek jet. But we also need it to look alien, so we need it to have some random things jutting off the sides.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, here it just looks like a super advanced jet. Yeah. It's a good design. It just... I don't quite know that it's a Megatron.
Yeah, it doesn't really, scream Megatron to me.
Yeah. It is definitely is probably one of the better... Even with that it is a bit overly humanoid in shapes, it is definitely one of the better Megatron designs.
Yeah.
So where should he go?
I'm gonna put him in C tier.
Okay. Just due to that, he doesn't scream Megatron, despite being a good design.
In fact, honestly, why don't we put him in D tier if that's the case?
Yeah, that's being absolutely clear. The design is really good. It's just about him not screaming Megatron.
Exactly. We don't hate the design. We just...
Yeah, we really like the design to the point of I'm now considering whether or not I want to... Since you mentioned he first struck you as just a random Decepticon, if I want to grab him just to have him be a random Decepticon for my collection.
That would suck, honestly.
Just due to that.
Yeah.
Since I don't have different Megatrons for each of the Michael Bay films, I do kind of like that design, but I don't need a second proper Bay film Megatron. And it's me considering whether or not I would want to make him be let's say, call him Straxus. The very brutal warlord dictator that even Megatron feared. Even though he wasn't, that isn't quite what Straxus looked like either, but when has the Bay films ever cared what exactly someone looked like? he gives he gives off at least that aura of the brutal dictator rather than even Megatron's level of dictator. Because Megatron rules with an iron fist, but he also doesn't do things like flat out kill a bunch of civilians under his command, under his rule.
Yeah.
He still has some level of not being completely bloodlust. But I can kind of see that from, say, the Last Night version of the character. Hence me feeling like perhaps Straxus could be a name for him.
Yeah.
I might track this down as well, just because it's really funny. But that would by no means be treated like a proper part of the Bayverse collection. That would be more of just, okay, this is a neat figure that would be funny to have. More like a one-off. Let's see. The upcoming Studio Series figure for Generation 1 Megatron. On one hand, they really got the robot mode right. On the other, it is more of the Devastation Games tank, which makes sense. They're not really allowed to make a character that turns into a gun, but it is still a little bit off. It still feels off because of that when Studio Series generally tries to stick to accuracy.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're gonna put him?
Probably in B tier.
Yeah, it looks good. It just doesn't quite feel like the Megatron it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, the Marvel Comics Megatron.
He was originally blue. Or at least in the comics he was blue.
In the comics at that time, to save ink, I think they would often end up printing dark blue to imply it was black.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, just like how most gray shirts are implied to be green.
I think so.
In black and white movies. So I should have given more context than that. Sorry. Yeah, you're probably so confused. I was like
a little bit. Yeah, I was like, what? But yeah, it kind of something similar where it was a matter of how it was a limitation of the printing technology and wanting to, not use the expensive black ink for everything.
Yeah. I mean, black ink was mostly used for dividing segments in a comic in separate windows.
And the outlines.
With just white.
Yeah. So where should we put Marvel Comics Megatron? Also, I'm realizing I didn't put a Skybound Megatron on here.
You can probably do that after we rank the rest.
Yeah.
think Marvel Megatron probably goes to A tier. Like, I like his design and like color scheme, like blue and white pairs nice together. But I could also see him going to B tier if a must-have.
Yeah, I'm gonna say let's put him in A tier just to kind of keep it a little further still broken up. Let's see. I forgot. So, next up is the first of the two Cyberworld figures of Megatron.
Huh. It's very unique.
Yeah, I do kind of like this design of Megatron for its uniqueness. And despite not being the normal gray, you can tell that it's supposed to be him. Which is actually pretty good design to make that work.
And the Bull having like fists like that kind of reminds me of like sending an image through Discord. Like the pig from Family Guy. Oink. That scene always killed me.
So where should we put this version of him? Because I would kind of like... I'd also like to see a standard mainline release of that version of him. Even if I would make it be like one of those there are a number of characters that look like Optimus but aren't. I would probably do that with that version of Megatron. Even though I think it's supposed to be a Megatron from a different universe. I think what was the show called again? Sorry. I'm blanking. Cyberworld, I think, is supposed to be almost like a multiverse type show.
Let me see. With that in mind, I think he deserves to be in B tier.
All right. Yeah.
Like it's
Go ahead.
an interesting concept, but like not executed properly. You know.
Yeah. If he got like a proper mainline budget, maybe. I think he currently has like core class or less for budget. But like a proper deluxe or Voyager of that would probably truly show off the execution that it would need. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the other Megatron from Cyberworld that we know of at the moment.
What is he, a garbage truck?
He is actually a repaint of a Hound figure.
Well, that explains the bulkiness of his body.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm not a big fan of it, regardless.
Yeah. It just doesn't quite work.
Like, it doesn't work for me as, like, a Megatron figure, too. Like...
Yeah. I kind of get what they're going for with it, but also not 100%. they're kind of going seemingly for that Generation 2 stylizing of him as a military vehicle in bright colors, even using the same colors as Generation 2, but it just doesn't really work. But again, it could be just due to that I think it is supposed to be one of those cheaper figures. And maybe if they ended up doing like a mainline version, it might look better. Though, what probably... You know what might not be helping, actually, in particular?
What?
Really cartoony head. Overly realistic details for the cartoony head. I think it might be that the body is too detailed for the head. That might be throwing you off a little.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah.
That's 100% why.
Yeah, so maybe if he had a completely new mold, or like they retooled it to smooth it out a lot more, to make it better fit the stylization of the head, it wouldn't feel as off. As is, where should we put him?
I'm gonna say D tier.
Alright. Looks like we have 3 left because these 2 are accidentally Galvatron.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no. There would be 4 left because the Skybound one.
Oh, right. Yep. Right.
Which I ended up managing to gather stuff for. But that should be set to the end. But yeah, we have the Kingdom, the standard Kingdom release of the Kingdom figure.
Okay.
Yeah. You can kind of see what I mean by... This doesn't quite look like how he does in the Netflix show.
You need to change your screen.
Oh, yeah, sorry. There we go. This this clearly doesn't quite look like how he does in the Netflix show, but it also doesn't quite capture the original show the same way that the other repaint did. That's why I have them separate from both of those.
Yeah, he looks like a combination of like, he took like the bases of like a robot form and like from the original show, and then like added the like the Netflix T-Rex onto this one.
I wouldn't even say the Netflix T-Rex. Netflix T-Rex I think even looks more cartoony.
No.
But it was definitely an effect of they went for Jurassic Park style dinosaurs as realistic over the cartoony nature is what was mainly going on here. Because if it's gonna be so many back, but if I quickly zoom back to here, you can kind of see all those realistic details, but they're kind of now washed out with the darker color scheme and the bright accents.
Yeah.
For the Kingdom mold. And you just kind of don't have that same cartoony additions for this. For the Kingdom, for the flat, normal Kingdom release. So where should we put Kingdom? Megatron himself.
I say a B tier.
All right.
Like realistic with the cartoon, is just off-putting for me.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Let's see. And then we have this fellow.
Yes, the guy who sounds like he smoked too many cigarettes in a lifetime.
And does not read as the same Megatron at all. Also, I will note, there's the Kingdom figure's heads. Yeah?
Yeah.
There's his head in the dinosaur head. You can kind of see what I mean by they look a lot. He looks much more cartoony still to be exactly the to be the Kingdom figure.
Yeah, but you can kind of see where I got confused because it still has like some of those intricate details of the T-Rex.
And they're both and the Kingdom figure was technically released alongside the Netflix Kingdom show. They just didn't directly use the figure as the basis of inspiration.
Right.
But yeah. What do we think for this guy?
Personally, I'm gonna go with D tier. Like, I
D tier?
do not care for this version of Megatron. Like, the design is good, but the voice actor is terrible. I also think he's like a bit too cartoony.
I might put him there.
Oh, F tier, okay.
Yeah, I might put him there just because he's the Kingdom figure does kind of is a little off-putting with the realistic dino mode compared to the cartoon. He still keeps he at least keeps the core element of that Beast Wars Megatron. He still feels like that imposing, smart leader that should be a threat. The Netflix show's version feels like a fanboy of Megatron that really that has no plans of his own, isn't threatening in the slightest despite being a T-Rex. And just the voice is just wrong. They just had the wrong casting for the voice.
Exactly.
So in all but basic appearance, he effectively isn't the same Megatron he's supposed to be portraying. Which is why I'm thinking he could probably even go all the way down to F. He just it feels like they fundamentally did not get what the character they were making is supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have this Megatron from Wild King. Takara has kind of a show of it where pretty much it is Megatron, Optimus, and a bunch of animal transformers that can basically power them up in kind of a mix and match combination style. But this is just Megatron himself.
Yeah, his feet kind of reminds me of like one of the Megazords from Power Rangers. I mean, honestly, that's what his entire figure looks like. It looks like a Megazord.
I wonder. I don't know if you would be able to, but it would be kind of funny if someone took like this Megatron and ended up making a Megazord from it.
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely he basically feels like just a normal Megatron. There's not much really standing out other than that you can end up attaching the other animals to him to power him up. But as just Megatron, he's not really got anything special going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where should we put him? Right, I need to do that.
Let's just put him in C tier, but like I don't think he's really all that exciting yet, but he still has like some merits to make up for it a little bit.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, he's not terrible, but he's not. He is a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
And then, what should be the last one then is Skybound Megatron. Of which I've grabbed an image of, I think, what he currently still looks like, and what the only alt mode I recall seeing them show us at the moment.
So, it's a blaster with tank treads.
I think it was
Tank body.
Yeah, I think it was designed to kind of act as kind of a compromise between, they know that Megatron's going to have to be a tank whenever his figure releases for the figures Hasbro releases, since I think they mainly do bring in characters that Hasbro's actively working on, or at least want to stick to the Generation 1 versions and know any Generation 1 Megatron's gonna have to be a tank, but still wanted to have that gun mode for the fans of the original show. And this is kind of what they came up with as a compromise, seemingly, where he kind of jury-rigged a gun mode from his tank mode. Yeah. What are we thinking?
I think he belongs in A tier, just because his backstory is interesting, and I think it's also an interesting concept in general.
Yeah. And it is neat that they tried to find a way to make both work. Try and find a way to make the best of both worlds, even if it is a little silly.
Exactly.
But yeah, considering these two are Galvatrons, so we don't need to worry about them. Looks like this is our tier list.
Yep. A lot of B's, a lot of C's, hardly any S's or F's.
A couple D's, one of which is just there just because it's not quite Megatron, but not because it's a bad design. But yeah. Yeah.
I think we did a good job.
I think so too. Alright. Any parting words?
I have none.
Ah. See everyone next time, and hopefully this was enjoyable, interesting, and or at least the thought process makes sense based on what we've explained.
Yes.
See you next time.